Hey yo, first and foremost, shout out to Lamont Roach and Tank. That was a great fight. I enjoyed it. But yo, I'm making this video because for the whole build up, y'all were killing me over my victory over Lamont, saying that he wasn't worthy of the Tank fight. But at the end of the day, I don't care what y'all say. I got that W. That's all I'm saying. I got the W.
The boxing world is buzzing after the intense showdown between Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach. Here are the wildest reactions to the fight. Lamont Roach is no stranger to Gervonta "Tank" Davis. The two fighters crossed paths in the amateur ranks, building a history that added intensity and emotion to their recent clash. Roach's father and trainer, Lamont Roach Sr., has watched Davis evolve into a global boxing superstar, but any past familiarity meant nothing in the build-up to this fight. Tensions were high, and the atmosphere was electric. "My mindset is to beat his ass," Roach told Boxing Scene ahead of the bout. Roach captured the WBA super featherweight title in November 2023, defeating Hector Luis Garcia on the undercard of David Benavidez's win over Demetrius Andrade. He then successfully defended it against Fergal McCrory on ProBox TV, setting the stage for a career-defining opportunity against Davis, one of the biggest names in boxing. "This camp is different because I feel like they're counting me out," said Roach, determined to silence the doubters. His underdog mentality was only heightened by comments from Terence Crawford. The former undisputed champion said only to fighters Shocker Stevenson and rising star Keyshawn Davis had the skills to hand Gervonta Davis a serious defeat. Crawford's words added fuel to the fire, dismissing most of Davis's past opponents as lacking the mental toughness to endure against him. Gervonta Davis, known for his devastating knockout power, had lived up to that reputation in recent fights. He stopped Frank Martin in his only fight of 2024 and previously knocked out Ryan Garcia in 2023. Roach, despite being a significant underdog, embraced the moment. The odds may have seemed stacked against him, but so were they for Muhammad Ali when he faced George Foreman in Zaire. What followed became the legendary Rumble in the Jungle. Roach leaned into the moment with poetic flair. "Roses are red, violets are blue. March 1st sounds like, and the new," he declared, signaling his confidence in dethroning Davis. The fight wasn't just another title defense for Davis or another shot at glory for Roach. It was personal. Their rivalry began in 2011, when Davis defeated Roach twice in the amateurs. More than a decade later, Roach was back, seeking redemption, and he wasn't afraid to speak on it. But if there's one thing Gervonta Davis doesn't do, it's back down, especially when trash talk enters the picture. Davis wasted no time responding to Roach's rhyme. "Roses are red, violets are blue. March 1st sounds like a don't worry baby, you'll be home soon from the hospital." The internet lit up with fan reactions. From amused approval to fiery debate, the hype was real. Meanwhile, Terence Crawford added more intrigue to the conversation, throwing support behind Keyshawn Davis and Shocker Stevenson, two fighters he believes can truly test Tank. When asked about a potential unification bout, Crawford stayed cool. However, he replied with a shrug. Tank knows what he's up against when he fights Shocker or Keyshawn. Crawford's long-standing critique of Davis resurfaced. That Davis often chooses opponents who fall short mentally, unable to withstand the pressure across a full fight. "They might have a little skill here and there," Crawford said, "but mentally, they can't keep it up for the whole fight." Was Lamont Roach Jr. just another name on that list? Crawford didn't mention him, but he made it clear who he believes will eventually hand Davis his first defeat. "Those two guys and Keyshawn, you know what I mean, they're going to be the ones.
When I said it on Twitter, it went viral when I said the top 5 thing. A lot of people agreed, a lot of people disagreed. Tank said I was a meat lover. He came in, he was like, "Oh, this guy, you a meat lover."
But Tank would never even think about hesitating to come up to 154.
All right, what about 47 though?
Yes, if he get to pick his opponent. If Tank get to pick his opponent, he would do it. But Tank would never come from 35 to 54.
Former champion Mikey Garcia, in an interview with Fight Hub TV, weighed in on the showdown between Gervonta and Lamont Roach. While discussing the matchup, Garcia also revealed why the idea of Davis eventually facing Shocker Stevenson doesn't spark much enthusiasm for him. Despite that, a potential lightweight unification clash between Davis and Stevenson remains one of the most unpredictable and intriguing bouts in the sport. Garcia said before the fight, "I think Tank is one of the very best fighters, definitely in the lightweight division. I don't think Roach would be a huge threat for Tank. Tank is very talented, very skilled, and also very experienced at this point now. He's fought and seen pretty much every style there is, and his power is tremendous. Where he has that knockout punching power, and he has the confidence to do it." He further added, "It's hard to go against Tank again, not to disrespect his opponent Roach, but I think Tank is a beast and he's been proving it every fight. And he probably will win this fight as well. Stevenson is the epitome of the hit-on don't get hit philosophy, effortlessly weaving together movement, defense, and speed to dominate his opponents and cruise to decisive victories. Though his recent performances have drawn some criticism for not being the most thrilling, he remains confident that when the stakes are highest, he'll rise to the occasion and deliver his best. Mikey Garcia said, "I'm actually not a very big fan of that fight. Now, I do believe Shocker Stevenson is a great fighter as well. He's got the skills, he's got the talent, great boxer, super talented with footwork, with speed, reflexes, counterpunching ability. He's one of the very, very best. But I'm not a fan of that fight because Shocker Stevenson is the kind of fighter that he's going to fight his fight regardless of what the critics, the fans, or anybody want to see. Winning is winning for him." Garcia further stated that as a fight fan, this approach did not appeal to him. While he respected Stevenson's skills as a fighter and gave him full credit for his abilities, he personally preferred to see other matchups. He expressed a preference for a fight between Tank and Lomachenko, as he believed Lomachenko, despite having great footwork, speed, and reflexes, was more inclined to engage in an actual fight. He said, "Shocker, Stevenson's going to be a dull, not as exciting of a matchup, and I think that's why he's going to have a tough time getting some of these big fights, until he turns his style a bit and shows up a little more. Maybe then he'll get some of these fights, but until then, I don't think Tank fights him or anybody that's a serious threat." Shocker, again, great fighter as far as skills, but not a great fighter for the fans. Enter Tank Davis, a knockout artist whose fights rarely see the final bell. Hailing from Baltimore, he's built a reputation for delivering jaw-dropping finishes with a highlight reel that rivals the sport's best. Whispers from the gym suggest he's not just overwhelming opponents in the ring, but also leaving much heavier sparring partners battered behind closed doors. Meanwhile, veteran boxing commentator Jim Lampley predicted before the fight that Gervonta Davis would secure his 31st career win and his 29th knockout against Lamont Roach Jr., Lampley said. Lamont Roach has done his best to portray optimism. He has pointed out that he saw Davis in the amateur ranks and is already familiar with the 135 pounds champion's precision, power, style. He has underlined his motivation to begin fulfilling his dreams of building a legend. He has observed the money-making platform that would ensue from an upset win, he added, but what he has yet to do is to present a convincing outline for how he can solve a puzzle that has produced a lengthy series of spectacularly violent knockouts and made Tank Davis one of the biggest and most upwardly mobile names in boxing. Crawford undoubtedly left out the Reaper's name as one of the people who will ultimately let Tank Davis taste the bitterness of defeat. Lampley said, even if Tank did not possess his shocking punching power, he would be an elite lightweight on the basis of his crafty boxing, southpaw-style advantage, clever footwork, and visible killer instinct. But it is pure power that really sets him apart. He doesn't just beat his opponents, he annihilates them in breathtaking, often scary fashion, he added. Like a career predator, he approaches his kills patiently, behaving like a cow, and then suddenly explodes into irrepressible, precise violence to produce sudden finishes. His knockouts are picturesque, not unlike what we saw from Mike Tyson in the developmental stage of his career. Davis is now well beyond the developmental stage, but he is still outclassing shocked opponents. Although Roach claimed that he had improved, Lampley believed that this Saturday's result was still obvious. Lampley said, Roach has a quality background and is a highly competent boxer. But when I asked the most experienced boxing writer, I know what chance he gave to Roach in this fight. The answer was, the same chance I give to a caterpillar crawling in the way of a steamroller. Davis by middle round rescue TKO onward to potential matchups with Lomachenko, Shocker Stevenson, or Keyshawn Davis, any of whom would have a better chance than Roach. Meanwhile, Bernard Hopkins shared his thoughts on the Davis vs. Roach showdown during an interview with Michelle Joy Phelps of Fight Hub TV. Hopkins didn't hesitate to weigh in on the matchup. He said, Tank Davis, to me, he's going to give anybody problems. The burden is on Roach or anybody else in this case, it is Roach. The burden is on him. Earlier this summer, Roach was first called up by the sanctioning authority to compete against interim titlist Albert Bell. Regardless, Hopkins warned Davis that anything can happen in this world of boxing, noting both guys need to come in the way they need to come in. Hopkins also believed that Davis shouldn't ignore Roach. Tank cannot underestimate Roach. Roach is a real good fighter, boxer and puncher, and he had some confidence from the amateurs, Hopkins told Michelle Joy Phelps. Lamont Roach, meanwhile, revealed the circumstances surrounding his fight with Davis. Roach agreed at the time, but since he wasn't yet a champion, the fight didn't go through, and the PBC ended up choosing Hector Luis Garcia. Gervonta Davis appeared to have Bernard Hopkins